Hi everyone, it's Kasia from Tarot Map, and this is a VR to Natalia's Council of Seven video. I will link her video in the description box below, so please check it out. And council, right? Wise council. When we think of this wording, like I think of wise women and wise men who you can go into. Usually, I imagine them sitting in the circle, and you can ask questions. You can ask for advice. You can ask for insights. You can ask for protection, or you can ask for support of some sort. So she asked us to pick 7 tarot decks. We're skipping oracles for now, and I'm glad she mentioned it because I was just going, how am I going to do it with just 7 decks altogether? But the Council of 7, I was thinking, she made me think. So I was thinking about which decks I usually, at this moment in time, go for when I need, this type of counsel in a situation, like usually when I need to figure out something for myself. So the first deck that I chose is Dodel, Tarot de Marseille, Dodel, Jeanne Dodel. And I really felt like it has to be in my council because it was one of those decks that has changed the way I read tarot. And even though I don't use it that often these days, I do use Tarot de Marseille in many different forms, and whenever I really want to clarify some stuff, I often reach for the Dodel, just because I fell in love with the eyes. And Jeanne Dodel deck and Tarot de Marseille system, they have enriched, even though it's such a kind of simplified version of tarot, and with the minors, it's such a often disregarded type of tarot because it's so hard to read in some sense, which when you try and you kind of get used to this deck, it's not so hard to read. But in the beginning we think it's like, it's so kind of poor in intuitive hits with the minors. But to me it really enriched, and it really shook like a tower all the tarot preconceptions I had. It opened me up intuitively, creatively, and it's just, I'm grateful to this deck for breaking through Rider-Waite-Smith kind of stuck meanings of tarot. And this deck taught me more about open reading style, and it's definitely a wise counsel, and it speaks clearly to me. So when I do a Tarot de Marseille reading, I usually do 3 cards, or I really look at directionality. I look what the people look at. It's just this amazing reading style that I actually overimpose now on nearly every reading I do. So this is my wise counsel member number 1. And when I do numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, it's not really the validity of the decks. I think all of the decks that I show here are incredibly important to me. So the next one is Dark Goddess Tarot, and this member council is one of those really punchy ones. If I was to choose the personality for this deck, it would be Baba Yaga. She is a part of this deck as well. And the companion book to this deck is by Ellen Lorenzi Prince, and that's her name, if you didn't know this deck. I'm not sure if it's for sale right now, but I know that most of you either have it or had it and traded it. But to me, this is one of the most important decks when it comes to really reconnecting with the wisdom of the ancestors, with like the raw messages that I can dig in my own psyche, and she's usually very punchy, this council member, and she's very honest through being quite poetic in some sense, but also very practical. And I feel that's how I see this deck. If I need to be practical in my life, but at the same time really figure out where I may be, you know, hiding behind some bullshit, this deck is what I would reach for. And usually I do work with the companion book as well, not the little white book, but you can purchase a companion book in PDF form and then print it out on Ellen's website. So Dark Goddess Tarot, deck number 2, and then there is a total different deck. And what I notice, I'm happy about that I do have different voices in my council. So I'm Sagittarius Sun, but I have Neptune on my Sun and on my Mercury. So this is Tarot of Transformation, and this speaks to more of this Neptunian, softer, gentler side of me. It's such a gorgeous deck, and the book to this deck is amazing as well. And it's very kind of counseling based, very beautiful. This is a connection also to kind of like an angelic beings, really light beings in this, you know, in like kind of ether. And I really love this deck for connecting to my guardian angel. I had a beautiful experience with this deck by doing it. I think I made a video on my channel at some point about it. This deck has a really shitty paper, unfortunately, but to be honest, I so don't mind. It's just one of those decks, and I trimmed the side of the frames as well, but it's one of those decks that really teaches me to stop, to breathe, to have more flowing approach to life. And if I needed a counsel on how to be soft with myself, how to be compassionate with myself, how to be more maybe loving towards myself, I would go for the counsel with this deck, Tarot of Transformation. Another one that I picked is the Margaret Peterson Tarot. I always used to call this deck like top shelf spirituality. I trimmed the borders, but now when I see it with the borders online, I kind of really want the borders as well. But I'm happy with my, you know, with my copy. I also edged it in different colors. It was the idea of 80 from Instagram. And I have to say that it's fairly abstract, this member. It's like an oracle of my council. It's not so easy to get messages from her, but she is very mindful, very, very spiritual and embodied in her spirituality, but she gives, you know, those kind of poetic messages. You don't really get sometimes straight away what she wants to tell you. You need to do some work to decipher, you know, the messages. And again, the guidebook for this deck is incredible. This is one of my favorite guidebooks ever. I noticed in general all the decks I picked for my council come with words, you know, with great guidebooks, which I appreciate. Yeah, she is incredible, this council member, and I'll definitely, you know, go to her for, like, it reminds me of the Dreaming Priestess of Malta. You know, when you go into a temple and you ask for a dream, and then you go and get messages like this, that would be, yeah, that's when I would go when I needed to figure something out, but it was totally not, you know, in my conscious mind. So another deck in my council is, and I think it will be no surprise to anybody, is the Mysteries of Mary Tarot deck. And actually, after watching Natalia's video, I loved what she said, this observation she made. Because Mary and Jesus Christ are worshipped by so many people in the world, you actually, and also Hetien, from what I know, you know, of her, she's on the devotional path to Mary. It's incredible, the energy that this deck carries. It is a healing deck, and it is a very, I think it's really well mixed between feminine and masculine deck, but it's definitely, I don't know, to me it's a mystery deck. So if I want mystery, and it's called Mysteries of Mary, if I want mystery, if I want to connect to Mary, and I personally have a connection to Sacred Feminine through Mary, through Amma. I was always drawn to those type of, Sacred Feminine aspects, or like how the universal wisdom manifests through feminine form. Right now I'm in this process when that really draws me. I want feminine form. That's where I find myself. So this deck, and when I say feminine, I mean mostly I love to see women being, teachers. And that's just where I am right now. And that's why this deck, even though it has a lot of merit, has a lot of Christ, it's well mixed in my opinion. But yeah, it mostly connects me to this part of myself that I really want to connect deeper. And that is, of course, valid for males and females, or if you the binary, I don't know how you guys can find yourself between these two opposites, but I strongly believe that each one of us has some form of mix between the two. So yeah, Mysteries of Mary is definitely opening my heart as well. And because I have this deck for so long and I have been working with it for so long, it's still a mystery to me. Again, amazing booklet or book, companion book to the deck. And if I went to this council, that is a devotional path that I would take. It's a pilgrimage path. It teaches me that kind of sense of connection to something bigger than myself, which I sometimes really truly need. Another one is the Story Medicine Tarot as well. I knew that Natalia will pick it as well. And this is by Jessica Zinchuk. And this council, it's very embodied and grounded and earthy. It reminds me of work with my ancestry. I know that Jessica is from, her background is also Ukraine and here Eastern Europe, like myself. I can feel and sense this energy in this deck as well. Sorry for the glare, it's not the best light, but it is embodied, which I truly value in spirituality. And it is simple, but very powerful. It feels like the Weaver's Oracle. Like if I went to this council, I had to stand the ground, be in my body before I even could approach them. And again, it is, as you can see, very freeing, but through the experience in your body. It's a very embodied deck. And I think if I needed to remind myself or ask for support in grounding, in being true, in walking my path, and walking my talk, I would definitely go and speak to this council member about things like this. And again, before you even approach her, you would have to be in your body, be present. So that's really cool. So I love this deck so much. And yeah, it's a very special deck. And I think if you got readings from me, some of you, a lot of you, would have gotten a reading with this deck. And there's two left. So the sixth one, which I picked, might be a surprise to some people, I don't know, but it's El Goliath deck. And because it's black and white, I don't know, to me it's a trickster deck, and I love to have a trickster in my council, of 7, because trickster, like a devil or anything that it's a little bit, edgy, can teach you really a lot about yourself. And how can you not have a council with that Queen of Wands? I just love that image, especially that, one of my very strong allies in the animal world is the owl. So this deck is kind of, sometimes on the kind of edgy side. Some images are very provocative, evoking. I love that it's so earthy and shamanic as well. And whenever I see this deck, I kind of, sometimes it borders with like agitation or fear, or like this kind of, trickster energy that I have to really figure out what I feel. And I think there's a huge wisdom in a council member like this. It reminds me a little bit of Loki, or like Kokopelli, or God Pan, like all that trickstery kind of energy that you go there and they say something and you go like, is this advice? Is it for real? And then you realize how much wisdom comes through it. So this deck carries this energy for me. So it's a little bit on the darker side, but sometimes when you're faced, with the darkness through like a sense of humor or this kind of, weirdness, you learn a lot. So this is El Goliath tarot deck, and it found its place in my Council of Seven. And the last one is Mad Tarot by Julie Kuchia Watts. And this is a very special deck to me, and it had to find, I had to have it on my council because of the incredible images and emotional response that they awake in me. And this council would be probably great for finding myself in a little bit in all the cultures and finding myself through reflections of other people. And at the same time, it's really kind of reminds me of my world a lot. It works with nature cycles and the moon cycles. So it's a very wise council member to remind me to look around me, look at nature, look how nature changes and how my life is intertwined with nature and natural cycles. And this deck just reminds me of that. So it's like my worship towards nature, and also like a mirror of the natural world within myself. So if I wanted to ask for timing or ask for advice about more practical things in my life, or understanding where I am right now, I would use astrology, and I love using this deck for it as well. It has all different seasons, all different it's perfect deck also for ancestral readings because it has images from many different cultures. It has many different body shapes, body types, different bodies in general and different people. And yeah, it's a very special deck. So Mad Tarot, another and my last member of the council. And I think right now I would be very, very privileged and excited and happy if I could end up, within a council of those particular voices. And I'm glad I own these decks. I'm glad I can work with them. I love working with them. And well, I'm very grateful to Natalia for providing us the opportunity to do a VR of this amazing video and her awesome idea. And I highly recommend you to check out Natalia's channel. She has amazing videos. She has just started, but I foresee a bright future for this girl. And I love her. She's amazing. So yeah, check out Natalia's channel, and yeah, speak to you soon. And would love to see a review VR to this particular video. So if you do a VR, please tag Natalia, but tag me as well. I would love to see it. Thank you for watching. Bye.